Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Danielle. So I am filming this video, like I literally have clothes all around me. We are going to be moving in 2 weeks, plus I have a lot of laundry just to put away, just to pack up again. So I wanted to just kind of update you guys where I've been because how my videos went. I did like a 37-week pregnancy update and then I had the baby. And I really wanted to record my 38-week appointment to kind of let you know what happened in between my 37-week ultrasound to see how big baby is until I actually had her. So let's just get into the video. I'm sorry if I look like a crazy person. I have like no makeup on. Usually I don't wear makeup these days, but on top of that, my sleep has been very minimal. And sometimes it's not just because I don't get the opportunity to sleep because she naps a lot. It's just when she's asleep, I feel like I need to watch her. And right now I'm putting away laundry and I'm carrying her because she kind of fusses a little bit. She's actually a pretty good baby. She doesn't cry, like unless she's like in pain or if you're ignoring her little fussiness. So anyways, let's just get started. So I had uploaded my 37-week update, and that's when they did the ultrasound. The doctor told me he estimated me going over my due date. He said you'll most likely have your baby past your due date. I'll let you get up to 41 weeks. I don't want to induce you because your labor is going to be even longer, XYZ. And yeah, so after that, I actually had an appointment like 5 days later. I don't think I was quite 38 weeks. It may have been a day sooner. But basically, when I went to that appointment, that is where they check to see how dilated you are. And when I went, it was very uncomfortable. Like, I don't think anybody really tells you. Like, you just think like, oh, they're gonna check how dilated you are, not a big deal. No, like they actually go like digging in there, and it's a lot of pressure and it's very uncomfortable, and it was just not anything that I was expecting. Like, I already don't like my annual exams. Like, I get super tense, and who wants to be touched down there? You know what I mean? Like, it's very uncomfortable. And so the doctor, or I don't know what she is, but I think she's a nurse practitioner because I saw her throughout my whole pregnancy. I actually just saw my actual doctor who delivered her just a few times throughout my pregnancy. So the nurse practitioner is the one who checked me, and when I went in at 38 weeks, I was 2 centimeters dilated and 90% effaced at 38 weeks. So when she told me that, of course, I got straight on the internet. I'm like, what does that mean? Is the baby coming? You know, what's going on? And so yeah, so basically I saw, they told me that like you can be 2 centimeters dilated for a long time. You may not progress past that, but the fact that I was already 90% effaced, like a lot of articles were like, your baby's probably coming. It showed like your cervix is already there. So basically what effaced means, like it thins out. And how they explained it to me, or how the nurse practitioner explained it to me, is like your cervix is like, I don't know if it's like tight or strong. She said it's as tough as a nose, like your nose or whatever. Just imagine that. And it gets as soft and thin, or it gets as soft as like your cheek, like the inside of your cheek, or some. That's how she explained it to me. So to be 90% there, 90% thinned, like my body was doing what it was supposed to do, basically. And so once they told me that and I read everything on the internet, I was like, okay, there's no way that I'm going past my due date. I had a feeling that she was gonna come maybe within a week of that specific appointment, and I was right. So that appointment, like I said, it was probably like the day before my 38 weeks, and so every Wednesday I was turning a week, you know, like it was a new week every Wednesday for me. And so it was the the Monday night before I turned 39 weeks. So Monday night, my husband goes to work, and he works from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., 7 a.m., I don't know. So just say it was Monday night when he went to work. And I already, like I said, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. I know about the mucus plug. I know about everything that, you know, what to expect and when to rush to the hospital and when not to rush to the hospital. and all that good stuff. And so, like I said, I was right before 38 weeks, and it was like 2 days before my 38 weeks. My husband goes to work, and then I go use the restroom, and I notice, because I'm looking at this point, you know what I mean? Like, things can happen. So, yeah, so then I noticed that I lost my mucus plug or whatever, and it was just, because I watch videos, it literally is like an egg white consistency. And the doctor said, don't be concerned, like that you don't go to the hospital just because you lose your mucus plug or anything. He did say to call him if it was like a period like blood. And I don't know if I explained this, to be honest, in my labor story or not, because I was a little bit lack of sleep. So if I did, sorry if this is just repetitive. So that happened Monday night, and then a couple hours, you know, continue. So technically it's Tuesday early in the morning, and I go to the restroom because when I'm wiping, it goes from like a brownish tint, like a light brown tint, to like red, like period blood red. And I mean, it wasn't a lot or anything, but he said like that's when to be concerned. So I called the office, and then I guess they had to wake him up. It was like 2 a.m. Let me think of the date. I don't remember the date. So I guess technically it was October 8th, but like 2 a.m. And he said, oh, like if you're not bleeding, it's just when you use the restroom. That's fine. It happens. Call the bloody show and whatever. I feel like I told you guys this already. So then as the night progresses, I start getting period-like cramps. And it's not anything too extreme, but I'm texting my husband, and he's like, so what does this mean? You know, because then we're Googling, you know, reading all these articles, and it just means that like you're gonna have your baby soon. You know, it's not like let's go to the hospital right away. So I didn't get any sleep between Monday night and like Tuesday, you know, like that, whatever. I didn't get any sleep. I literally slept for like 2 hours because first of all, she is a kicker in the middle of the night, and she doesn't allow me to sleep, or she didn't allow me to sleep, so I would be up super late. Plus, like, my husband was at work, so I was just really a night owl. I would usually go to sleep at 5 a.m. and then sleep until about 12 p.m. So my schedule's like super backwards. And so that day on Tuesday, I was supposed to go to a vendor event with my mom because she's gonna be opening up a restaurant. And I wanted to cancel on her because I had got no sleep, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be there at like 10 a.m. Be ready. And so I literally had no energy, and by this point, like, I don't wash my hair every day. Like, I'm literally like on dry shampoo like all the time. And so I had told my sister, she's like, oh, I think you're gonna have the baby today, you know, this, that, and the other. And so she's like, if I were you, I would just get up, shower, wash your hair, you know, because in the morning, this was like maybe like 8 a.m., 7 a.m. Like I said, I only slept a couple hours. I'm messaging with my sister. I told her what happened. She's like, I think the baby's gonna come. And then I started timing my contractions. I mean, when I remember. Well, at this point, I don't really know that they're contractions. I'm still highly in denial. I'm like, they just feel like period cramps. Like, it's not anything, it wasn't anything too major, but it was one of those things like, see, I'm not one that ever cramped. But when I got off of the birth control pill, my cycle would be heavier, and then that's when I would cramp. So I associate like that feeling of like cramping with like a heavier flow, TMI. So it's just like something that you don't want to be up and about doing stuff. Like, I would rather just lay down in bed with the heat pad and just relax. But my mom was like, no, I'm gonna be there. So I got up, I got ready. My mom didn't end up showing up until 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. when she was supposed to be here a little bit earlier. And by that point, I want to say my contractions were between 9 to 11 minutes apart, somewhere in there, but then they completely just were sporadic. Again, I don't know that they're contractions, but I downloaded an app, and I'm just timing when I'm getting these fillings. They were mild. And so my mom, she wanted me to go to this event with her, and in my head I was like, I don't want to go or whatever. And I had already told her, like, Mom, like, because I was starting to get like uncomfortable after walking for a long period of time. Like, she would be starting to push on my pelvic bone a little bit. my back would start hurting, like my lower back. So my mom had already borrowed a wheelchair. Before any of these contractions started, she already had borrowed a wheelchair for me because she's like, I'll push you, don't worry, because my feet would get swollen. Like, it was already starting to get like to that point of the pregnancy. And you would think if I was feeling all those symptoms that I would just like be one of those people that would be like, get her out of me, you know. But at no point in my pregnancy was I ready to deliver her because I was terrified to go into labor. I was terrified. So I was just soaking it all in, trying to get as much rest as I could. Even if I was uncomfortable, even if I had like significant heartburn and everything like that, I was just trying, because like I wasn't ready to have her. If I'm being completely honest, maybe I'll do a separate video on that, on how I was really feeling and how I feel now. But I was scared. Like, when I say scared, I was like terrified to have this baby. Like, I was terrified to go into labor. It was like the scariest thing. Scary. Like, so when people would ask me, are you ready to have her, I would be like, no, I'm not ready, because I was scared. So again, I was in denial. So my mom gets here, we go to the event, long story short, she's pushing me around and I'm getting these cramps to the point where it's like I have to use the restroom, but like it feels like constipation, kind of like if you ate something bad and like you're getting like those cramps but you can't use the restroom at the same time. I don't know. So like I didn't even bother to get up at the event to use the restroom the whole time because I felt like I had to poop but like it was one of those things like where you feel like you have to use the restroom but then you can't. So then she drops me back off at my house, and it's around like, I don't know, 4 p.m. and I eat a slice of pizza. And this is like a food event, by the way, so like we're trying samples of different foods and different sweets and different things like the whole day. But it was not like a meal, but I really thought that I ate something bad because I came home, I ate a slice of pizza. Hector's asleep because, like I said, he works nights, so he sleeps during the day. So I come into bed with him because I was tired. I hadn't gotten any sleep the night before. And so I tried laying down with him maybe for like an hour or two, and I woken up with the worst cramps. Like, if you ever woke up with TMI, diarrhea, but like if you ever woke up with like that type of stomach pain, that's how I woke up. And I'm like, oh my God, my stomach. And I was like trying to like ignore the pain, hoping that it would go away because I was so tired and I didn't want to wake up. But I ended up just getting my ass out of bed and went to the restroom, and then I start like getting sick to my stomach or whatever. Like, I'm using the restroom like back to back to back to back, like, because I would like think that I'm done, I would come to bed, I would get the pain again, and it was like a lot of pressure. Like, it just felt like I had to use the restroom, go back to the restroom. Even if I'm not using the restroom, I'm just like sitting there like just miserable. Like, what the hell is going on? I seriously, at this point, because I was in denial about like, oh, these are contractions, these are not contractions, because I was like, at this point I'm 8 days before my due date, and I'm like, no, there's no way, like, I'm not ready to have her yet. Oh, my boobs are hurting because I have to pump. So I'm like using the restroom, going back and forth. By this point, Hector wakes up too, and it's a couple hours before he has to leave to work. Like, he usually leaves to work around like 9:30 p.m. and I think around this time it may have been like 7:30, 8 p.m. around there. And he sees me going to the restroom. I'm just like, oh, I'm in a lot of pain. He's like, babe, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to call off of work? Like, what am I doing? And again, I'm in denial. I think I have just like food poisoning. Earlier in the day, my sister's like, I'll go over because your husband works nights. I'll stay the night with you, but I have a feeling the baby's gonna come. I don't want you to be by yourself. So I'm like, I'm sitting on the stairs. Literally, I finally realized, like, let me go ahead and time what's going on, like these stomach pains, because I really felt like it was food poisoning, especially because I kept going to the restroom. So of course I'm on the internet, and apparently your body cleanses itself out. So like episodes of diarrhea is like a common thing because your body knows that it's going into labor, so it just cleans itself out completely. And so I start timing these pains, and I realize that they're 5 to 6 minutes apart. The doctor said get to the hospital when they're 5 minutes apart. So I, muster whatever energy that I could and get in the shower. And my sister's already almost here. And I'm literally like in a towel still packing my hospital bag. I had filmed a video doing a review on my diaper bag that I bought, and that's already uploaded. And I was like, it wasn't fully packed. I wasn't expecting to have her yet. And it was one of those things, like I think I even said in that video, I don't think I fully packed my stuff because I'm one of those people that if it's a stressful situation, I just don't want to deal with it. And even though it would have been so easy just to put together a little bag for the hospital, I was so scared to have her that like I just couldn't do it. And so at this point I'm like, I tell Hector, okay, I think I want to go to the hospital, and it's like 8:30 p.m. That's why I shower and everything. I'm trying to get together what I can. I'm walking around in a towel. My sister's in the car waiting for me. And it was like honestly so hard to get what I needed while being in that pain. Like it was just like, it was weird though, because once the contractions passed, it was like nothing happened. And then I would have a couple minutes of like relief, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then they would come back, and I'm like, what the hell? So I was hungry. I like, when I'm sick, I want a Gatorade and I want soup. It's just what I want. And so I had told my sister, like, oh, I think I'm gonna have them stop at Chick-fil-A and get me a soup. By the time I get in the car, there's no way that we're stopping at Chick-fil-A. We did get myself a Gatorade because the gas station's right here, and we headed to the hospital. Luckily, there was no traffic or anything like that. It took us 15 minutes to get there. They checked me in. You guys know the rest of the story. So my water actually broke when they were checking like my vitals and everything. We're waiting for a bed to open up in triage. My water ended up breaking. I was glad that I was already at the hospital. Like I said, the way that the cramps started or the contractions started, it was like an all-day thing. You know, it was from 2 a.m. on the 8th, and then it just got progressively worse until I had her on October 9th. And yeah, I was not one of those people that were like, oh, let me see how far I can go without medication. As soon as they actually got me in my room, I was like, whatever pain medication, because they started getting progressively worse, like more and more painful, and I felt like they were lasting longer, and it was like less time in between. So like, it was just honestly really painful. I don't regret getting the epidural because I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel her coming out or any of that. But I do have some tips for aftercare. So it's like, once I had her and they took us out of the delivery room and put us into our own room, it's like those nurses on that side, they don't care. Like, they were so accommodating when I was in labor. Like, my nurses were great. Actually, there was one, her name was Miranda, which is funny because that's my middle name. But she was so great. She was so accommodating, like making sure that I was okay, changing things when they needed to be changed, just like checking on me consistently. She was on top of everything. The morning shift nurses, they came in like a little bit more sassy, but they were still ended up being really nice and everything like that. But once they moved us to the other side, it was like they didn't care about you. Your baby's here, and like they put you in a room, and it's just like whatever. And I would suggest, because I watched a lot of videos like, oh, you don't need to pack this, you don't need to pack that, they'll give it to you. And although they'll give it to you, like, I don't know if it was like baby delivery day or what. Like, I felt like they just kind of put us in a room. They kept saying they were going to bring me certain things that they never did. So I definitely still recommend taking your own witch hazel pads and taking your own ibuprofen. And even though you're not supposed to take your own medication into the hospital, I was in pain. Like, literally, I was in so much pain. I recommend ordering one of those donut pillows, like, that you can sit on, especially. You don't know if you're gonna tear or if they're gonna give you an episiotomy. You don't know what can happen. And I would just go prepared, because I didn't take a donut pillow, and I was sitting right on my stitches. Like, I had a 2nd-degree tear. So by the time my epidural wore off and everything, like, I was in pain down there. They said they were gonna bring me an ice pack for it. They never did. They said they were gonna bring me like the spray. They told me they were going to bring me a bunch of stuff basically that like can help soothe the pain, and they never did. And by the time they did, it had been so many hours later. If you plan to breastfeed or pump, I would even take my own pump, because what happened was, and I feel so bad, oh my gosh, it's like my mom guilt already. So when I had her, there was a lot of people in the room, and I didn't know how I felt about breastfeeding, just because I don't know, I'm just like one of those things, like my boobs are always sore, like don't touch them, like get away, like, so I didn't know how I was gonna feel about breastfeeding. And it wasn't a lactation consultant. Like, I feel like if I would have had a lactation consultant help me and put her on the right way, I would have, maybe went that route. But what happened was, it was like a student nurse was like, okay, like gave me my baby, but there were still like a lot of people in the room, like family and stuff, that I didn't feel comfortable like being exposed, and so I wish this would have went down a little bit differently, but everything happens for a reason. Well, basically, like, I kind of like had like a sheet or like, I don't know, something over, and the way that she latched on was just like right at the tip, and it was hurting, and like she was so hungry. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. I feel so bad. So, like, she was like looking for my, like, you know, looking for it to like eat, and like she's like reminding me like a little piggy, like, I don't know. So she was like trying to like, you know, like find it, and then when she latched on, it was like right at the tip, and it didn't feel comfortable, and I felt like I needed a shower, you know what I mean? It was just like a lot going on. Like, I felt dirty because like I'm like freaking leaking, like all crazy. This may be TMI, but like it's real. And then there's like people in the room, and I just feel like exposed, and then she's not on right, and my boobs are like sore, and like she's just like on the tip. And so I didn't like it. So there was another nurse there, and she's like, well, we can bring her a bottle, like if she's not like, you know what, if you're not comfortable with this, like we'll just give her a bottle, like she needs to eat. So they brought her a bottle, and she guzzled that thing down. Like, they told me only her stomach is really small, so she's only gonna eat a little bit, and like they said, like 25 milliliters. This little girl drank like 50 or like 75 milliliters. Like, she almost finished the whole bottle. I was like, oh, like I wasn't paying attention. Like, she was just guzzling it down, and she was hungry because I don't know, I hadn't eaten, you know, since 6 p.m. the previous day, and she's used to me eating like in the middle of the night with her and everything. So I don't know. I still feel bad because they didn't latch her, like she didn't latch on properly. I didn't have a nursing or lactation consultant. And then, like I said, they kind of just threw us in the room. The nurses, like, they came in to do what they needed to do. Like, oh, somebody came in the middle of the night and took her, like, oh, we need to bathe her. But she was just the person who bathed her or whatever. And by the time that I actually got somebody who cared, it was the next day. Like, the morning nurses the next day were lactation consultants. So she was helping me latch her, and it was a different experience. She's like, oh, you know, she you know, showed me a website. She showed me how to like express my milk, and that was the thing. I was like, I still want her to have my milk. Like, can I get a pump? Can I get a pump? And they kept saying like, oh, we'll bring you one. This nurse XYZ, like they kept saying like, oh, we'll bring you one. We'll bring you one. And then let me backtrack. The night nurse, after I'd been waiting all day, the night nurses, they came in to introduce themselves, and they're like, do you need anything? And I was like, oh, I'm waiting for my pain medication. I'm waiting for the ice pack. I'm waiting for the witch hazel pads. I'm waiting for the spray. I'm waiting for all this stuff that I'm promised. I'm waiting for a pump. And then she goes, you're not getting a pump. We don't give pumps. Like, your baby's not in ICU. We only give you a pump if your baby's in ICU. Like, super attitude. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And then she ended up bringing me pain medication one time, the whole time that I was there, and it was ibuprofen. And you know, ibuprofen only lasts for a couple hours. Like, it was not any, like, I don't know. And they sent me a survey, so I am going to complain in the survey because it's like, it asks you like how your stay was, how were the nurses, everything. And those night nurses suck. Like, seriously, it's like when I had the baby, like, they just didn't care. They didn't care about my comfortability. They didn't care about anything. It was just like, they just put you in a room. And I can't emphasize that enough because I wish I would have spoke up. I wish I would have been like, hello, you said, like, I need this now. And the thing is that there was okay, so like there's like a phone on the bed, but there's not anybody in the front. So they all have cell phones, and you have to call their cell phone. And every time I would call, it would go straight to voicemail. And I couldn't get up and walk around. Like, I had an IV in me. I was uncomfortable. Like, I don't know. I wish I would have complained more, but that's besides the point. So yeah, so they said, oh, your baby's not in ICU. We're not bringing you a pump, okay? And so the next day when the morning nurses came, what happened is that usually when they switch shifts, they're supposed to like introduce themselves. She wasn't even fussing. She just woke up. But so it was not until the next day. What happened is that I was calling those numbers, and so I ended up having to call like the supervisor nurse. And I know that they switched shifts like at 7 a.m. and it was like 7 a.m. I ended up having to call one of the supervisors, and I was like, I don't know what happened to my night shift nurse. Like, I've been trying to call her all night. I needed medication. I'm in pain and all this stuff. And it was just very frustrating. So that's when the morning nurses came in. Sorry if I sound all over the place, like baby woke up. Anyways, so the nurses came, they introduced themselves, and the morning nurse, I explained to her, like, yeah, like yesterday, like I needed pain medication. They were not answering. And she was so, so, so nice. The morning nurses were so nice. They were both lactation consultants. They got me pain medication, like actual pain medication, not just ibuprofen. And then I told her, like, yeah, like I wanted to pump because like she wasn't latched on properly. And so she's like, let me teach you how to like latch her, or let me show you how, like put her on. And then so she did, and then she's like, let me go get you a pump. Like, because I explained to her, like, yeah, they had said they were going to bring me one. Then at the end, they're like, oh, no, you're not in ICU, so you don't get one. And so she's like, let me go get you a pump. So then she comes back with the pump. She shows me how to use it. She shows me how to self-express everything. And then she's like, when are you scheduled to go home? Or what time did you have your baby? And I said, well, we had her yesterday at 10 a.m., but I don't know, because one person said that they would release us tonight, and then one person said they're going to release us on Friday, which is the following day. She's like, I'm going to try to keep you till Friday so we can teach you how to latch baby on and all this stuff. I'm like, okay. And so the whole day she was very accommodating. The whole day that we were there, the second day, very accommodating, coming in, checking on us, bringing me medication, because honestly I was like so much in pain down there. Like, not like, okay, that sounds so dramatic, like, oh my gosh, but it was just because I was sitting on a hard bed, and I wish I would have taken my own pillow, and my own like donut pillow as well. So like, take your own personal pillow that you can sleep with, because like I said, the hospital was like super packed, so they didn't have any extra pillows to bring us. So I had like one little flat pillow, and then I was sitting on a hard bed, and like that was very hard, you know what I mean? It's like a wound. If you were just sitting on your wound all day, like it's uncomfortable. So she was very accommodating, and then they ended up like releasing us that night. I think they needed the room because, like I said, apparently like they just had all these babies wanting to be born on that day, and so they released us that night. And the doctor, when they were releasing us, told me, don't breastfeed your baby because she has jaundice, not significant enough for her to need to stay there, but he basically said only formula feed your baby and don't breastfead her. So apparently, like when you're breastfeeding, like, yeah, their stomachs are really small, but the first couple of days you're only producing colostrum, and so it's not like a lot of milk. I mean, it's not like a lot, and so when the baby has jaundice, they want to flush it out, so the baby needs to eat more, and I guess the colostrum wouldn't have been enough for her. And so it's like I was just bottle feeding her, so by this point she's really not going to latch on. Like we already didn't latch her right right when she was born, and then now she's just on a bottle, so there was really no opportunity for me to breastfeed her at this point, because her follow-up appointment was going to be like in a week or so, or she's smiling. It was going to be whenever it was, but she was just on the bottle. So then I tried breastfeeding her after that, but she just wouldn't take it. She was like, what is this, like that's too much work for me. So I've been pumping. What I've been doing is I've been doing half and half, like half formula, half my breast milk, like every other feeding. And then something else that has happened while pumping is I had actually got mastitis, or it starts with an M, but basically it's a clogged milk duct that got infected. I ended up getting like super high fever, and that happened like a week after I had her. And since then, my right breast, it doesn't produce hardly any milk now. From my left one, my left one produces like more than double than my right one, which kind of sucks. And I know like there's things that I can take to make the milk come. I haven't taken anything because, like I said, I've just been doing every other feeding. Honestly, it is super exhausting having to pump, so I can't even imagine like breastfeeding and pumping. Because while I'm pumping, my husband's able to bottle feed her, and we've been tackling it as a team, so I can't even imagine like just me being responsible for every single feeding and then having to pump on top of that. I commend people who can do that. It is a lot of work, because I even feel like it's a lot of work just to sit there and pump, because I have to plan my day around okay, I need to pump, you know, I have to wake up and then I have to pump and then I have to do this, and then that gives me, you know, X amount of hours to do this, and it's honestly a lot, you know. So I can't even imagine just being the sole purpose or the sole provider of her food. But other than that, she's really good. I've been really good. So I guess the takeaway from this video, I would say, if you're going to be delivering soon, is even though they say, oh, the hospital provides, you know, all of your aftercare, I would still take your own stuff. Even like the mesh underwear that they give you, they're not comfortable, and I feel like they don't hold in their big, massive diaper pad like it should. So I would even just take your own Depends, or take your own, like I bought high-waisted underwear off of eBay. They're black high-waisted. I don't know if I showed them or not when I was doing that diaper bake video. Probably not, because it was not relevant. But get something secure that's going to hold you and hold the pad in, because honestly, those mesh underwear, they don't hold anything. And people say, oh, they're so comfortable. I didn't like them because they didn't hold anything in. So it's like, as soon as I got up, I felt like I was like messier than it needed to be. But yeah, so I would just take whatever, you know, whatever you think that you may need, or whatever you think that, or whatever they say that they're going to provide, just take your own just in case. Because if you have nurses like mine who kind of just left you high and dry, you're going to be super uncomfortable and in pain. And yeah, sorry if this video seemed long or like dragged out. I've had a lot to say. I probably could have made this into 2 separate videos, like what happened at 38 weeks and then what happened after labor and delivery, but I'll just combine it. If you're here, you're probably watching for a reason. So yeah. Oh, one thing I don't think I included in my labor and delivery, what happened when I got my epidural, is I was shivering, because I feel like nobody really talks about it, but like you may shiver and you may feel really cold. I actually ended up getting a fever because I was so cold, so I was like bundling up that they had to like uncover my feet. So that did happen. Another thing that happened is I got super nauseous and I vomited once because of the epidural. But other than that, I feel like I had a really good delivery. It was not as bad as what I thought it was going to be. I mean, everybody's delivery is different, and every delivery is different. So just because number 1 was good doesn't mean that number 2 will be good, or whatever, vice versa. But yeah, it was definitely not as traumatic as I thought it was going to be. And yeah, if you guys are expecting, or you know, and you're scared, honestly what helped me is just not to think too much about it, because I would freak out if I were, like, honestly, when I got to the hospital, I was trying not to show any emotion. So I was just not thinking about it. I was kind of just going with the flow and not really thinking too far in the future, like, oh, like, what's going to happen? Oh, I'm about to be in a bunch of pain, or whatever. Like, I just wasn't thinking about it. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but you'll be surprised about, you know, how much your mind plays into how you're feeling. And yeah. So I'm just rambling. I don't get any like interaction these days. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, I'll just go ahead and introduce you to the baby, because she's right here. Her hair's a little crazy, but this is Ella.